Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing a very special double feature book review, and the two books that I'm going to be reviewing are in the same series, and they are Delirium and Pandemonium by Lauren Oliver. So before I went ahead and I got these books, I actually got these books as audiobooks, but before I made the decision to get these books as audiobooks, I was planning on getting them as books, but they ended up changing the covers, and I kind of didn't like the covers that they had that were new, and so I ended up not wanting to buy them, and it was just more convenient for me to just listen to them as audiobooks and reading them, especially since I don't have very much time to read. And so I ended up getting them as audiobooks, but I kind of feel like in me getting them as audiobooks, I kind of feel like it gave the story more depth, and it made the characters that much more interesting and that much more alive. And I guess it was just the narration of the narrator that just made this story that much better. In general, the story was an amazing story. I liked the concept of it. I love the characters. I really was intrigued and really interested when I found out that this book was about, love being a disease and that it could kill people, and that, I really liked that. That was something that I'd never heard of before, that I'd never read anything about before. So this book is essentially about the government and how they virtually brainwash all of society into thinking that love is this terrible and fatal disease. And at the age of 18, it's mandatory for everyone to have this procedure, this cure, so that they can remove that emotion of love, or those feelings of love, or that area in your brain that triggers love. They have a procedure so that they can remove that, and so that you don't feel that, and so it's basically so that they can keep you under control. A lot of people are very firm believers in that love is bad and that you have to get cured, and that's the only way to live, and so a lot of people are pretty much brainwashed in this book. It's pretty ridiculous, because it kind of reminds me of society now, how people can get so easily brainwashed based on the media and what other people say, and just because they say it, it's right. It kind of reminds me of society, but essentially people get the cure and they get these emotions removed. And the thing that's funny about getting that procedure done is the way that they are after the procedures. I kind of feel like they're brain dead. They kind of remind me of robots. And in the book, they refer to these cured people as zombies, but I was thinking that they were more like robots, because they're just so dull and boring, and they talk in monotone, and they just really have no emotions and no passions for anything. So our story opens up with our main character, Lena, who is excited and can't wait for the day of her cure, for the day of her procedure. And she's literally sitting here counting down the days to when she gets this procedure. And she is one of the people that is a very firm believer in the cure, and she's terrified of catching it, and she's paranoid of boys, and she's kind of like a goody good girl. She follows the rules and she does what she's told, and she's really excited. And she has a best friend named Hannah, who is one of our secondary characters, and she kind of is an inner rebel, I guess you could say, because she doesn't really buy everything that society is saying. She's not buying into it. She kind of feels like there's something more out there that they're not telling them. And Lena's kind of afraid and kind of sticks to the rules and doesn't care, just doesn't want to deal with any of that other nonsense, just wants to have her procedure, wants to get matched with a potential boyfriend, husband, whatever, which is what the government does. They virtually control every aspect of your life. It's pretty pathetic. Like, they pick a match for you. They tell you you go to school and this is going to be your career and this is how much money you're going to make. They pretty much control every aspect of your life. So she is okay with having every aspect of her life being controlled until she meets this boy, and she falls in love with this boy. And this isn't anything that isn't already given in the story. It pretty much tells you that this goes on in the story very early on, so I'm not giving anything away just in case you guys are interested in reading this book. But she essentially falls in love with this boy named Alex, and he kind of just shows her a completely different side of what it was that she believed and what she was afraid of. He kind of just shed some light as to who, you know, these invalids, that's what they call the people who don't want to get cured, who live on, you know, this other land that's fenced out from the city that they're in. And so he kind of shed some light as to who these invalids are, and you know, how they live and what they do, and he slowly just starts to show her and kind of make her see that the government is wrong, and the government is hiding things from you guys, and the government is just trying to control you. And slowly but surely she starts to understand, and she starts to realize that, hey, maybe he's right. And so that's essentially where the story comes. I really liked this book. It had a lot of action in it. Well, some people wouldn't say it had a lot of action in it, but I liked the amount of action that it had in it. I thought the writing was awesome. She was very descriptive as far as emotions and feelings and how characters would react to things and how they felt about things. It was very detailed, which I noticed that some people don't like. I heard some booktubers on here that said that it was really slow and there was too much detail into something, but I kind of did enjoy that. That's just me personally. I'm a very detail-oriented person, so I definitely did appreciate all of the detail that was given into this world building and into the characters and into the emotions that they felt. There were a lot of twists and turns. The ending was very sad, unfortunately. It's a good ending, but it was sad. But there were a lot of twists and turns in the story, and you know, once this book finished, it ended on a really big cliffhanger, and I really wanted to know what the hell was going to happen like after some of the things weren't covered. So I immediately went and I downloaded the second book as an audiobook, and that is Pandemonium. And since we're talking about Pandemonium and I'm doing a book review, I will say that I gave Pandemonium a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And I will tell you why. First, this book is basically a continuation of what happened in the last book. It's the second book in the series, and then there's another book in the series which is called, I think it said Requiem. I'm not really sure how you spell that. I will leave an annotation somewhere on here so you guys know what that name is, but I don't really know how to say it. But Pandemonium is the sequel to Delirium, and it basically picks up where the last book left off, but the perspective in which, or the style in which the book is told is really interesting. I thought it was really cool because the first book was told in Lena's perspective, which was great. We got to know who she was, how society was, this boy that she meets. It was good. But then this second book is told with still her same perspective, but the past and the present perspective. So it's back then and then now. And so it switches from one scene to another, and I thought that was really cool. It definitely made the book a little bit more interesting. As far as these perspectives are concerned, or I don't even know if the word perspectives is the right word, because it's still in Lena's perspective. It's just to different time frames. But as far as these time frames are concerned, her past is basically where the story picks up, and it basically talks about how she crosses over and she's running in the forest, and she gets found by these invalids, and they take care of her, and they, you know, rehabilitate her, because she was in really bad shape when she got there. She hadn't eaten, and she was pretty beat up when she got there, and they basically help her, show her the ways of the people that live in the wilds, the way that the invalids live, or the resistance as they like to call themselves. And she basically starts to rebuild herself, because she finds out these secrets about her mom, and she's dealing with what happened with Alex. I'm not going to say that in case you guys haven't seen it, but she's dealing with all of these different issues, and she's in a completely different environment, and she's just trying to get used to it and trying to live this new life that she didn't expect to be A, living alone, and B, living in these kinds of conditions. And the present perspective is talking about the girl that she is now, and how she is, you know, a really important person in the resistance, and how she's working in the resistance. Like I said, I gave it a 4.5, and the only reason why I gave it a 4.5 was because of two things. Those two things that I'm talking about are Lena's mother and Alex, the guy who died, supposedly. And so I really wish that they would have covered that sooner, so that I knew more about what happened with them. They do cover it in the book, but like I said, it's towards the end. It's ended on another cliffhanger because there is another book coming out. So this is my double feature book review of Delirium and Pandemonium by Lauren Oliver. If you guys haven't already checked out these books, you should. You really should. Like, what are you thinking not having already read these books? I hope you guys enjoyed this video.